What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Twink Revolution. I'm Sam.
And I'm Gian, and you just lied to people because it's not Twink Revolution.
That's right.
It's Popular Thought Revolution. That's what you're here for.
Yes.
Yes, so if you are ready for 3 hours of just gay screeching, that's what you're in for.
Yeah, it's the collab no one asked for, but everyone's getting.
So we are going to look back at the year that was 2020. Just truly a watershed year for us all. These are our salad days, et cetera, et cetera. But we needed some help from our friends. So Sam, who we got on the line?
So we're here with returning guests Nick and Chris from Thot Topics.
Hi.
And we're here with the fabulous Japanese drag queen, Zach Langley Chi-Chi of I'm So Popular.
Yes, ethnically Japanese drag queen, Zach Langley Chi-Chi.
Well, and so part one of this is going to be right here, wherever you're listening to it on Twink Revolution. And then part two, you're going to have to scurry on over and as our progressive dinner of faggotry proceeds to Nick and Chris's house over Thot Topics for part two.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll have to end your evening with, a digestif and, some stewed berries over with Zach Langley Chi-Chi at I'm So Popular.
Mm-hmm.
Beautifully done, Gian. Look at you go.
Look at this. Yeah, this is
very
this is why they
succinct.
pay me the big podcast bucks.
Yeah.
And it's why Sam and I argue over who does the intros.
Yeah.
Flows like a river. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're gonna be looking back January through April.
Yeah.
Right? That's one third of a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
where do we want to start?
Should we paint a picture? So January 1st is when The Circle came on Netflix and predicted the entire year of being locked in a room alone with only social media as communication.
That's right.
Did you guys
seen
watch?
it?
Yeah.
I did watch it.
I watched the UK version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
Even though the
we're
American
in a
version, I think,
bloody
was also
circle, aren't
filmed
we?
in UK. No?
Yeah, the American version was also filmed in the UK, but it's just
Yeah.
on Netflix.
oh. Well, I didn't watch that one, so fuck me, I guess. But
Yeah, in America, they're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And they show like the skyline of Chicago. But if you look on the walls, it's all European plugs.
Maybe they just got a really shitty electrician to do the substandard work.
They've just put in the time and the effort to make it really seem like it was Chicago when it damn straight was not.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really,
why would you lie? Just be like, it's just like stupid Americans just overseas.
It's really the hostel location. They were all tortured when you were voted off.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, what were you doing in January, Sam?
Nothing. I was waiting for my job to start.
Oh yeah, you just become re-employed.
Yeah.
Rip. How about you, Zach? What were you doing in January? What was your life like in January?
God, I was still doing shows. Like, I was still performing. I think I did a celebrity skin by Hole back in January.
Oh, cunt.
I still had gigs and bookings, and I had friends visiting from overseas, actually, like for 2 weeks. Like, my good friend Leo was here, and we were like drinking until 5 a.m. and like just scourging the country, going to Osaka and Tokyo. And then like literally that week is when news came out about the Wuhan virus while they were here in January.
You heard about it by then?
Yeah, because I mean, we actually got our first case of COVID like in late January.
Oh, work.
Yeah,
You're
and everyone was
like
like, oh my God, the China virus, the Wuhan virus. And I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a sickness. It's fine. I had no idea.
It's unclear what I was doing in January. I'm trying to look through my camera roll, and all I have is a screenshot of Jennifer Lopez, Let's Get Loud. And
I actually tweeted about this today. On New Year's Eve, we went to some club in Chicago, and I was already hungover because I drank so much on the 31st.
oh, yeah, the night before.
Yeah, I didn't even make it to the countdown. I didn't make it to midnight. I Ubered home, and it was a race to vomit in the toilet. But
I lost my ID, and I took a cab home, and then
not an Uber, not a Lyft.
No, I had to hail a cab because I lost my everything. And by the time I made it home, I realized that I did not have my wallet and I could not pay the cab driver. And he was like, "Just get the fuck out."
Holy shit! Yeah, we had a brutal start.
Brutal, yeah. And the myth that you spend the rest of your year the way that you spent, your New Year's. That's what everyone says. But I didn't spend it having that much fun.
We started our podcast in January. Early.
Oh yeah, our podcast
That's
is January
right.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, I have it on the list,
anniversary.
actually.
Well, we were a long established podcast by that point, but January 1st, which was where we are here, and
Yeah.
January 1st, I remember I was on a plane back from New Zealand,
Oh, yeah.
and there's this fun trick you can pull. I'd been back to see my family for the first time in a little while.
I was there too.
Yeah. Sam was there, and this fun trick you can pull where you can have New Year's Eve in New Zealand, do the countdown, drink the champagne, make the bad decisions, and then get up early the next morning, catch a flight, and get to San Francisco in time for another New Year's Eve. You can have it twice.
Oh.
So I feel like
Ew.
I don't think I quite managed it. I think New Year's Eve happened like out over the ocean somewhere, but I do feel like it set the stage well for the idea of every day being kind of a weird, just an
limbo
echo.
space.
Yeah, sort of Groundhog Day or sort of just an echo of yesterday constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And feeling
stuck in
kind
neutral.
of just jet lagged and shitty and drinking too much in confined spaces. So yeah, good.
Well, I have, like you mentioned, January 19th was when the first Thot Topics podcast
Oh my
dropped.
god.
Basically starting like the COVID-related 100 podcast blooming, where basically everyone and their mom is starting
Yeah.
a podcast.
It's so true.
I'm so happy
There was
we
something in
started
the water.
because I was like, God, Jesus fuck, everyone has a
humble
podcast
brag.
now.
But we started before I'd even heard of COVID. Like you can hear in the first couple episodes, like the first mention, we don't even talk about it until episode 7 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like not even on our fucking radar.
God, we were like so fucking scripted. Like we were trying to like map out everything we were going to talk about, and you can like do not listen to our first fucking episode.
No,
please.
the first episode is literally unlistenable.
Wait, I love the idea that you would be like, okay, yeah, here's Chris's line, and then crunch chip now into microphone.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Slurp my frozen like tequila popsicles. Yeah. But
I think we talked about Alessia Cara killing herself on stage just a bit.
We just had like so much fun shitting on the girls that like it just devolved to that.
It was women hating at first, and then you motherfuckers made us talk about politics for 6 months.
Yeah.
Wasn't
But
us.
listen, here we are.
Couldn't have been us.
And all of these podcasts that started in the COVID bloom, I feel like that includes me obviously, but there's definitely a line where it's like people who actually don't have like the guts to podcast or don't have the ego, but meanwhile Thot Topics is here with the ego, like
Period.
ready to go.
Period.
Like someone could clip anything that I say over the past 50 episodes and like try and drag me, and I'd be like, no,
I'd be like, I still think
I still think that.
I may have been.
Like I will never go back on anything that I ever say.
Last time I
checked,
checked, it wasn't a crime to be retarded.
only in some countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's I do feel like COVID gave people a lot of time, which I suppose
Yes.
we'll get to. But if you start in January, COVID, clearly not a thing yet, right? So you're
No.
a pre-COVID podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Zach, what was it like starting a COVID podcast?
Well, I never got like put into actual lockdown in Japan, so in the same way that I wasn't like given a special like lot of time or something, my ego was really just like getting out of hand, and I needed to start yelling into the void. So it was
reason as
vaguely
any.
similar, but yeah, I guess like the apocalypse has just become much more clearer this year to me. So it's like my last chance to
Get
put
those
my
words
stake
in,
in the
bro.
mud. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It was great because everyone had so much free time. Like we got the double podcast when we did like COVID started, and it's like, well, I'm not going to do that when you have a job. Like,
Yeah, doing 2 days a week, and
Yeah.
I feel like sort of foreshadowing. At that time, I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like working from home. It's sort of nonsense. So like you can just sort of do whatever. But
Yeah.
turns out eventually people figure out that
Yeah.
like you're meant to be productive from home.
so, that's-
Yeah.
so we can move on to the next month because not
Thank
much really
God.
happened in January. Everyone's kind of like recovering from New Year's and
Yeah.
trying to
It's
become, like,
January's the worst month, objectively.
yeah, everyone's trying to work out, and it's like, bitch, you're not working
Yeah.
out. You're working out by eating a whole entire sandwich on the couch.
The,
Like,
the
shut up.
Equinox steam room is full for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So February, I don't know what the fuck happened this month, but apparently the Oscars happened. I wanted to know.
Oh.
Did you guys watch the Oscars?
I did.
I'm sure
they
we
too
did.
white
We
again?
definitely did.
Were they too
No,
white?
they gave it the best picture to Parasite, which was like objectively not the best picture.
Oh my god, that was so long ago.
That
I
feels
know
like
it
ages
feels like a
ago.
different universe. Like what the fuck was? When did I have time to care about Parasite?
Was this when they set new credentials that like half your cast had to be minorities and all that shit?
No, that was like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, but that was
Well,
after the last one. I believe.
This
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
year was just yesterday in my mind.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
So the competition for Parasite was Joker,
Fuck.
Marriage Story, because that was the month that the clip of Adam Driver
yeah.
punching the wall was going around on Twitter, and everyone was like fighting about whether or not it was good.
Bitches still use that meme.
Yeah, they still do it. It endures. And then the Tarantino Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the Little Women thing. Everyone was talking about Little Women. It was a big year.
Whammon.
Yeah.
Little Women. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
And it's sad to think that last year was like a good year for movies in comparison to the absolute sludge produced this year.
I like couldn't even name a movie made this year.
It's like only Netflix films like Ryan Murphy, The Prom.
Yeah, literally. I literally watched like Ratatouille
Yeah.
twice.
Listen, live action Mulan that took them like 300 million. That was the budget for Mulan.
Yes, the $300 million Mulan movie that grossed like $40.
Yeah. Dude, Disney Plus wanted you to pay fucking $50 for Mulan. Or
Yeah,
wait
to
2
like
months
watch it at home.
Yeah, or you can just wait 2 months and get it for free.
Yeah, for this like shit. I was like, just watch Wendy Wu. It's obviously better.
Yeah, give Brenda Song her coin.
Yeah.
Well, so the funny thing is, like, obviously, award shows in the pre-COVID era feel positively quaint because, like, I would crawl over broken fucking glass just to be able to like sit in a restaurant and order off a menu and eat with my friends.
Yeah.
The idea that you would like risk a public gathering to go and watch this self-congratulatory wank fucking fest of the most self-indulgent Hollywood losers is just horrifying at this point. It's we've really revalued that, like, what is the benefit of a gathering?
Yeah. It was also a very peaceable time too, in terms of like how like little time Angry Libs had to come after people, because it was like that was like a victory moment. It was like, yes, Asian people win again.
Yeah.
Let's go. And like that was the whole narrative of February.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think February was actually the month that the sinister Chinese Communist Party managed to actually successfully aerosolize the weaponized version of COVID and begin distributing it around the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
forget?
when it started kicking off like for real in Japan, and I was supposed to go see the Death Note musical, and I bought tickets in September of 2019.
Holy shit.
I had been
Horrific.
waiting. I had my hotel booked in Osaka. I was ready to go, and then like everything with more than 50 people is canceled.
Damn.
So
You got
that was
robbed of that
that weekend.
experience.
Well, that's foreshadowing too,
horrific.
because now every podcast with more than one person is
Yeah,
canceled. So.
we were in Mexico.
My closed sound stage.
We were in Mexico in February, and it's like when you started hearing about it finally in the media, it's like, oh, it's becoming a thing. And like when we were flying back, it's like everything's like, oh, were you in China at all? And like stamping your passports and shit. And it was kind of like, oh fuck. And then
Thankfully, they gave that up.
and then I had my job, which took me like a year to get, for 2 weeks, and then it closed down because they can't operate under COVID. So I was like, oh fuck, I'm unemployed again.
Bitches were still like set on traveling during COVID. When COVID was like really hitting off back in like March, my sister was in Puerto Rico, couldn't come back. My mom had her wedding set in Guatemala in June and didn't cancel until like May because she was so like fucking hellbent on still going to fucking Guatemala. But yeah, thank God we weren't out of the country.
I was supposed to go to Israel. I'm not a Zionist. I'm just a jet setter. And that got canceled real quick.
Yeah, I was supposed to come back to America this year for 2 weeks. Nope.
Nope. Gotta
Nope.
stay. Oh no, I have to stay in Japan.
No.
Well, I think I was like in February, I was literally planning like my big trip for the year was going to be Italy.
Oh yeah.
And then so I was like, oh, Italy's locking down something like northern Italy. Then the next day,
Yeah.
oh, Italy's locking down all of Italy. Oh,
Italy
that
seems like it
sucks.
would have been fun to have been stranded in, though, because of all those videos that were going around of like people with like LED lights in their apartments, like
Yes.
on their porch, like dancing to like
Rihanna.
Swedish House Mafia.
Yeah, like balcony DJ sets.
Well,
like,
I, think,
fucking,
I think we will get to balcony DJ sets in March.
Oh shit! I'm not looking at the
fuck.
outline. Fuck me. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, well, what do we got? What do we got next? Oh, March happened,
Yes.
and so March. I'm trying to think. The last day I worked in an office was like March 2nd or something, and they were like, "No, absolutely not."
I was still
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. Sam was still going to work, but
yeah.
and then March 16th, I think. So we kind of knew the lockdowns were going to happen in San Francisco because you guys are going to have local conditions. But San Francisco was like, they were very into this. They were into like, we're locking down, we're doing it hard. And so Tiger King came out on March 10th.
Yeah.
It sure did.
And I think
Wow.
on, I think on March 16th or whatever, when it was, they were like, you cannot go outside. There was nowhere to go, nothing to do.
Yeah.
I started watching Tiger King and powered on through.
Yeah,
Nice.
and also pioneered the mass career for Carol Baskin, who was later on like Dancing with the Stars. Did you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Unconvicted murderer Carol Baskin.
Queen.
It was the first time gays' meth usage was viewed in a positive light. I mean, it tells you can get a bunch of hot twins if you look like shit and have a bunch of tigers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listen, it set the precedent for leadership. For
I
sure.
thought that one toothless guy was hot.
The one toothless
Yeah,
one.
which one?
the main boyfriend of Tiger King.
Oh, he got his teeth fixed recently.
Oh, work. Well, good for him.
tragic.
He's not hot
Yeah.
anymore. So.
Yeah, he got a bag.
Yeah, exactly. Got it back and fixed my teeth.
Right, they ran him his check real
Yeah,
quick.
exactly.
Stella got her teeth back.
Yeah.
So the WHO declared COVID a pandemic, which I keep saying global pandemic. And then like my husband will point out like that's a contradiction, or sorry, it's not a contradiction. It's like it's a
Oxymoron.
truism because I think it's a truism in terms of the because a pandemic has to be global apparently.
I didn't know
I thought it was
that.
something about pansexuals, and
Yeah.
I was just trying to boost visibility, but
Yeah.
apparently
Well, the prefix pan means bread. So
Oh, somebody read Hunger Games.
The bi-demic.
Well, so March 11th, shit starts kicking off, and the lockdowns started.
this was a week that I dedicated entirely to manually breathing in my bed.
Yes. I think that's when I first became aware of you.
Yeah.
That was one of your
What an entrance.
yeah.
This
Well,
person
it's
who's
early
hysterically tweeting dedicating 6 hours to I convinced myself I would forget how to breathe if I stopped.
Well, I don't think you guys put this on your list, but the week that we all went into lockdown, that was the week that fucking Animal Crossing came out.
Yes.
So fucking
yeah.
Yes.
So no one
Don't
gave a shit
understand.
about going
No.
into lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. That it was literally the day I had Animal Crossing pre-ordered at GameStop, and I was knocking on that door. I was like, "You motherfuckers better let me in."
It was because GameStop was trying to say that they were an essential business so that
Yes.
they can still do the Animal Crossing release party.
What's essential about it other than everything?
Animal Crossing, I remember for the 2 months that everyone would not stop playing it, and now silence.
Yeah, it's because
I haven't
everyone
seen any
burned
screenshots
through
of any
it.
islands, nothing.
Yeah,
Like Avatar, no lasting cultural impact whatsoever.
Everyone
Just
just
in
killed
one ear, out the
themselves
other.
afterwards.
Yeah.
They were like, fuck, not worth it anymore.
Well, it was because it was literally like you wouldn't see the sun. It would be like straight up. Like we would stay up until the day would reset in Animal Crossing at 8 a.m. So if you could stay up until 8, the next day stuff would start happening. So that's when you would go to bed. It's like you'd like do your morning shit, and then you'd go to bed and wake up at 4 p.m. the next day to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's your second life. It's like people are gonna get tired of that shit.
It was my first life.
Yeah.
My
Well,
other
so
one
it's-
involved Instacarting like cheese.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Instacart because March was the month where sort of American city dwellers learned that there was a thing called an essential worker.
Oh yeah, I can't believe this hasn't been in our vocab forever. It's so like drilled into my COVID brain at this point.
Well, but
know.
it's such a nasty little term.
Yeah.
because, you know, But in any case, so we started hearing all about the essential workers, and everyone was panic buying fucking, sourdough starter or whatever the fuck people were up to.
Couldn't get toilet paper.
Yeah,
Honestly,
pasta makers.
if you're gonna be stuck inside for 4 to 6 weeks and you're panic buying flour as the white powder you're trying to desperately source, then I'm sorry, your lack of imagination, frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
But the cheering for essential workers started.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh yeah.
And
That was ridiculous.
so the one nice thing about working from home, because it's fucking miserable and depressing, because you're just like staring to a computer constantly, nowhere to go, no social life. But the one consolation was I didn't have to commute, so I could sleep in a little longer. So naturally, that's just when the neighbors start to decide that, like, you know what? Somehow we've had this cowbell all these years that we haven't rung
Holy shit.
in recognition of essential workers yet.
Wait, you didn't get one in the mail?
My essential worker apparently died of COVID trying to bring me my cowbell to appreciate it.
Didn't make it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really
March is the. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
I would say it was really crazy when like the lockdown also happened. It's like how like scary it seems. Like, oh fuck, we're screwed. Like, and I was like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, give me the COVID.
yeah.
It's like put it in my face. It's like I went to Oakland to grab like a bag of clothes to stay by GN's because like people were staying at my house, and I was like, I don't trust the bitches. And I packed for like 2 weeks, and it's like I didn't go back for like 6 months to get any more clothes. I wore like sweats every single day, and I was like, like shit. I would just steal GN's clothes for like live streams as well when I get started. I'm like, I poorly packed for all of it.
Yeah. I used to wear a face mask, 2 coats, 2 layers of rubber gloves. Like I would wear these dishwashing gloves that pulled up to my elbows.
You know, we were going to Popeyes.
Yeah. Just for the drive-through of Long John Silver's.
Oh my god, that's like.
I feel like
what's
March is when everyone, like the whole social culture, just started collectively performing and acting out like all of their secret, dark, like creepy desires, and just started applauding in the streets and dancing, and it was like complete decadent meltdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the celebrities began
Freud
to
was
sing.
in the building.
And don't forget, there's sort of the natural like germophobic paranoia that underpins the psyche of any sort of city dweller is always just like you get off the bus or whatever, and you're just like, I've been among the pores. This is disgusting. So the thing is, all of that was suddenly manifest and made very real by like, you know what? You just went to the grocery store. Better douse yourself, your possessions, your entire house in bleach, and then set it on fire.
Yeah.
Like me and Nick have had many experiences where like we'll be on the train going somewhere, and like across the aisle is like a homeless man shitting in a bag.
Yeah,
and
like shitting in a brown paper sack.
And no one blinks.
No,
you know?
you're not supposed
like,
to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring on that hacks girl.
Yeah.
Wait, he shits in a bag? That's so courteous. Here they just shit. They don't actually have the courtesy to put it in
While
a
they're
bag.
like walking.
Yeah.
Well, it's all the Silicon Valley people are just walking and shitting. They don't have time.
There was no time.
They're disrupting going to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Queering taking a shit.
Listen, when there's no more toilet paper in stock.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Do what you gotta do, gal.
Yeah.
But I remember it literally. I kept going to work for like a couple of days after like in the lead up to like the true lockdown where they were like actually like no one can stay. Mm-hmm. I was still taking the train to work, and it took like 14 hours for the train, every single train line in Chicago to just become a fucking no man's land. Like just it was the homeless people owned it. They did what it was like a market. Like every single seat was just like coats and rugs and deodorant and like just products just all up and down this, and they would just like be changing and walking up and down and like
very
it was
like
crazy.
Very like inner city Skyrim.
Yeah, exactly. It was
bizarre.
Commuter. Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
So I remember around this date, because I think San Francisco's real lockdown started, March 16th, 17th, something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was from about the 9th that they were pretty clear. They're like, don't go out. Don't do things. You shouldn't be out. You shouldn't wear a mask because remember those don't do anything. Remember that the health advice was coming out.
I've never
then.
forgotten that. Trust.
Masks are bad. Do not even attempt to obtain a mask of any type.
Don't try.
But I was sitting in a bar with one of my friends. It was an empty gay bar at like 4 p.m.
Word.
Drinking a martini, and that's the last time I got to be in a bar, and it was us, the
love
bartender,
that.
and it was probably the safest social situation I've been in since. The bar, my private gay bar.
I mean, like Chicago, there was just so much ambiguity of like what could be open. Even today, your restaurant could technically still be open and considered outdoor as long as you have like a window open.
If you're a quote indoor outdoor restaurant, aka you're a restaurant with the windows down,
yeah, then you can stay open.
Be open here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of always been like that.
Yeah.
Well, so there was another magical moment aside from getting out there and cheering for essential workers from the safety of your fucking San Francisco tech palace with HEPA filters on the entire building or whatever.
Which they loved, by the way. They loved their jobs suddenly.
God, yes. There was something to comfort us all that came out on, I guess it was March 18th. You've got down here. Yeah. So we were all comforted by the vocal stylings of one Gal Gadot and all her celebrity buddies with front cameras that they could turn into black and white for no reason. And just want to give us a little rendition there. Imagine all the people living life off Instacart deliveries.
Yeah.
My driver's dead.
House is $2 million.
That
I'm
was
trying
the
to remember
grimmest.
Participants in that.
Jimmy Kimmel,
Natalie
was in there,
Portman,
Yep.
Sia.
Kristen Wiig let me down.
Yeah, Sia let me down.
Let us down. I think. I thought she was smarter than all that.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But I just loved it. It started the genre. Like this was the birth of the kind of like celebrities whose like relevance to the culture is purely situational around like, yeah, I can go see them on a screen that is 10 times life size. Or I can go see them at a concert with 100,000 other people being like, I think I'm going to be the one that gets humanity through this. What people need is me now.
Yeah. Gal
I want
eventually
Natalie
gave.
Portman to sing to the shitting people on the train in Chicago. She's gonna help them.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Get them hyped up, get them amped, girl.
Yeah.
We can send Gal Gadot and Natalie Portman to Palestine, and they can sing Imagine to them.
Perfect.
While they're like cruise missiles, like,
Yeah.
fuck you, but we also fucking hate you.
Yeah, the real secret weapon.
Gal eventually gave an interview where her only quote on it, they were like, "Do you have any like regrets? Would you have done anything differently?" She just goes, "It didn't resonate."
The Twitter gays were very mean about this.
Yeah. Listen, those gays.
Yeah. Imagine all the faggots. And it also inspired all of the tweets that were so good, which was like, "Woman is the gamer of the world."
Well, yes, there was I hazard to even imply the content of the tweet, but it was when I became aware of Jack, the perfume nationalist, and honestly, the greatest content that's ever been on Twitter.
Yeah.
I agree.
Which was one.
It was a good week.
It was a good week because it was literally 3 minutes after that video came out. And if you don't know
with
what
an
I'm
absolute
talking
quickness.
about, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't investigate any further, please.
Yeah.
Except to say,
If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. I don't have time to explain it.
yeah, I will not be explaining that one further.
That same day, I don't really know, I have 18th or 19th for that Imagine one, but the same day was when COVID actually hit something personal and they banned Eurovision for the year. And I was heartbroken because what else are the gays going to look forward to?
Yeah, no Death Note musical, no Eurovision.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, American Idol is still airing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Katy Perry.
What?
Katy Perry passed out. No, there was a carbon monoxide leak, and Katy Perry had to be carried out of American Idol during COVID American Idol.
Yeah, she had to be carried
What
out.
volume were they recording this in?
It was like some horrific ski lodge in some Wyoming or whatever the fuck, and Katy Perry was like something like, "Are you guys like hot right now?" and she's like fanning herself, and like whoever else, like Lionel Richie or whoever else the fuck is in it, was just like, oh, I'm fine. And like Katy Perry was just out, like needed to be wheeled out of the building.
Yeah.
Not before she left a bunch of post-it notes for herself around in weird handwriting.
Yeah. Right. Scribbles and signs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Damn. Well, that sucks. I don't watch Eurovision. I mean, we had that episode, but outside of that,
Yeah, I was excited
you were
because we
robbed.
would have participated in it.
Yeah.
Because it was so close to the cancellation.
Well, it was tragic because they'll never ever sing those songs because they expire after the year. So they had to do all new songs for the next year.
Oh, I'm sure they wanted to kill themselves.
that blows.
Yeah.
This was Sam's Waterloo. You know,
Yeah,
this is
I
where
was
he
ready.
was finally defeated.
Luckily,
Like
they
it.
have assisted suicide in that part of the world.
This is my NFL. Like, I'm like, oh, who's gonna win? Let's like look at the bets and like let's see like what songs are good. And it's like,
Sam turns into a jock about Eurovision.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
gets into this sports book.
it's like everyone has like their breaking point, and that was my breaking point. I was like, they canceled Eurovision.
Like 2 days into lockdown, Sam's like, this is no further.
Yeah.
We have been pushed too far.
Fuck all the people dying around the world. Think about me and my needs.
And now next year we're gonna have like the most like COVID flavored Eurovision of all time. Everyone's gonna
Yeah.
be singing in
Oh my
masks.
gosh,
Please.
yeah. Like,
Okay,
oh man,
right.
Hey,
already,
Mr.
yeah.
Ventilator Operator. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
my Eurovision song.
people are gonna be dancing around in like vaccine mascot suits. It's gonna be really
Yeah.
fun.
Hazmat number.
Yeah, hazmat number. Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, I do feel like March was a watershed moment for the gays too, in terms of the ethics of still doing grinder hookups and you know, what do we think? I mean, I feel like this is still an unresolved question in the community.
I didn't hear any like grinder shaming until I think like late March, and that's when like the more like Libby podcasts I used to listen to, like Race Chaser with Alaska and Willem, started like shaming people for going and getting dick on Grinder. And meanwhile, I was like the entire time I was taking the train out of my prefecture into Nagoya to go see my boyfriend like 3 times a week. So
And
I
also
honestly was
Willem,
not-
I hate to say, but Willem's fucking lying. That girl was there's no way that she was locked down.
no way. That girl was covered in semen for the entirety of lockdown. Like
Yeah. But she had to say what she had to say to keep her check. So Forever Dog keeps the money flowing.
They were doing like did you see the like prostitution like brothels where they would put like dividers so they could be fucked while like on the other side?
No, that was a little later.
But that's probably what they're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
at this point. It's like, oh, I'm
Oh,
not
sorry,
gonna
yes.
touch them, but I'm like, I'm gonna have the most like sanitary sex ever, and like,
Lights off through a hole in a sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as,
like-
as God intended.
yeah. Jewish
imagine,
sex
like-
took off this month.
I can imagine like someone holding up a mic to like the World Health Organization saying, you know, like what should we do about Grinder?
Didn't they
like, nope.
say
Next
you
question.
should like? Didn't they recommend? There was something that like they put out like a sex guide in
Did
some
they?
country. There
That was
some.
New York. New
Yes,
York
yes,
State
yes.
Health
Some
Department
country.
or whatever put out some fucking country. Yeah, and that was a little later, I think, but that might be veering into your turf. But I believe that was where the guideline was like, avoid, face-to-face sex, and glory holes, use a barrier, e.g. a glory hole is
Yeah.
better than not hooking up at all. Or
And
whatever.
I do think that as a result, we've seen an uptick in people referring to themselves as a whole. And I think that is probably directly correlated to that phenomenon.
It's just good health advice.
Yeah, the separation of whole and state.
at long last, the day of the trade has come.
Well, and then we kind of
The end of the month, there was the first of there was election stuff going on. I think we all forget about that.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Biden on March 29th released his podcast called Here's the Deal, which marked the beginning of many failed politicians. I guess he didn't fail, but the rest of them did. Starting podcasts.
failed as a podcaster, bitch. Oh,
Yeah.
you're president? Well, have you got a successful podcast?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It was
Fuck
called
up,
Here's the
Jack.
Deal. I didn't know it was called Here's the Deal.
I had to look it up. I was like, I know he has one, but I was like, what actually falls
That's
into
very
mine?
sad.
Yeah, here's the tea with Joe Biden
Yeah.
and Marianne.
Yeah, it was funny. We were all being driven mad dually by the twin curses of COVID and politics. Like the Democratic primary was really like heating up. I think if, all of us present were probably like, like maybe Bernie could actually get the nomination this time. Like,
Yeah.
do you think? Maybe? Is it possible?
I
knew that it wasn't possible the second that they gave Pete Iowa.
Oh my god, yeah.
As soon as that happened, I was like, it's fucking over. I was like, we can keep the charade up for a little bit longer, but there's no fucking way. I was like, if they're handing it over to her, no.
Yeah. So April comes around, and both me and Gian had lockdown birthdays. I was one of the first lockdown birthdays. I was April 1st, and no one was really into like Zoom culture yet. So like almost no one came to my birthdays.
Yeah, that's why. That's why it was.
Yeah, that's why it was. I didn't have any online friends yet.
Yeah, we did. I remember. So that's the thing is, the supermarket lines and the initial rush of like insane like capitalist breadline nonsense, and masks. I think still no masks at this date. Had they finally?
No, there was
got
masks by now.
I think they
Masks by
finally got
now,
around to
yeah.
masks. Yeah. Okay.
It happened really quickly. It went like it was 0 to 60. Like these masks don't do anything. Like a cloth mask will not protect you. And then like overnight they were like, psych.
I remember how like fucking fake we were being, where like Twitter sent out a notification to everyone being like, LeBron James just tested positive, and we all thought it was fucking crazy that an NBA player got COVID.
Yeah, well, it's because they volunteered to get it to scare us.
Yeah.
Gian made masks, I think, this month as well. Like,
I
he
did.
sewed
I
them.
just as a like
Oh,
the
that's
good
cute.
faggot I am. I began to sew because I was so bored. I was starting to climb up the walls. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just distinctly remember this date only because I went to the supermarket and tried to buy ingredients to bake a cake for Sam's birthday, and this shit was. Yeah, I was like, I'm at home. I'll do something nice. Like the birthday. This is a sucky birthday. I will do something nice for Sam.
Yeah.
And it took me about like 45 minutes because the supermarket had been reconfigured with all these like one-way arrows, and they'd kind of finally got their shit together. But they got their shit together in terms of making it seem sort of Kafkaesque. And you would sort of move between atriums, and it was just a horror show.
Yeah.
It was very traumatic for me. I hope everyone who's died of COVID realizes how bad this has been for me personally.
Yeah. I had a bad birthday because all of you.
I remember we tried to go to Aldi like the first time to go grocery shopping, and when we got up to the register, the lady verbally was just like, fuck this shit, I'm so over it.
Yeah.
She's like everyone's acting like it's the fucking end of the world, and I'm like, well,
She was like picking up all of our canned goods, which I will never eat anything out of a can. I will be dead before I eat something out of a can. And she was like picking up all these like preserved things, like throwing them into the car.
What a queen.
yeah, she deserved it. Yeah.
Wait,
That
when-
video of the
so-
girl at Aldi was like, damn, Maz, is that serious? She's like,
like fucking
everything.
swiping.
Well, I did, just to do, because we're at the start of the month here.
Yeah.
Help us situate this in podcast history.
Mm-hmm.
When was your Olive Garden episode?
It had not happened yet. I think
That was
that
about
we're
May?
still.
I
Olive
was
Garden
listening.
was in June, I think.
June.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. So sorry, never mind.
But this was right around the time that at this point we were talking about RuPaul coming out as a fracker.
Oh,
God,
good times.
the fracking.
Yeah, the fracking.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
Yeah, episode I don't remember what number,
Simpler
but it was
times.
back to frack.
Like the fracking feels like an infinite fact of history now. I can't believe that is like a this year revelation.
I know. It like came to light. Then like everybody was talking about the fracking.
Well, and Zach, so you were up and running.
Oh yeah, and at
Yep.
this point,
What were you doing at this point?
Well, in April, they kind of like started peeling back on the fake lockdown they did, and bars were completely open. So I was like working at my bar this whole month. And like, meanwhile, my friends back in America are like, I'm going to kill myself. I have nothing to do. And I was like running around taking shots of tequila with salarymen. So I was just kind of keeping that to myself because no one was going to COVID shame me because I'm like abroad, but I
A lady. Thank you very much. We don't like that terminology.
Yeah.
Lord.
I'm
Outdated.
studying a cunt.
We got called. Hey, we got called on our doing a misogyny about AOC last episode.
So in April is also when OnlyFans skyrocketed, and there was an SF Chronicle piece that like really revolved around it. Was coronavirus took their jobs away. OnlyFans let these Bay Area people monetize themselves. It's just the month when everyone was like, we're all porn stars now. Like,
Yeah. Not only porn stars, everyone's a sex worker.
Yeah, I'm a sex worker.
I'm a sex worker.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is, right, if there's no infrastructure in place for these lockdowns, and obviously like jobs just like ending abruptly or whatever, and you know that stat about like, what is it, like 99.5% of Americans don't have like $400 to their names to survive like an unexpected $400 expense or whatever. Turns out it happened, and it happened in March.
Yeah.
Rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we had like Ashley Frawley on in April.
yeah, so this is the crazy thing. It's like we didn't have our first non-friend guest. We had Amy within like the 2020 first guest of Amy Therese.
Our first like big get. Yeah.
And I'm like, holy fuck. Like going through the year, I was like, I don't know what the fuck happened to all of this year. And I'm like, oh my God, all of our guests that were like not our friends were all within 2020. I was like,
It turned into something else.
I'll get Red Scare one day in like 2 or 3 years. I'm like, oh, we did it in a year. We did it. We broke.
Well, and I distinctly remember like we would sit there like refreshing the stats after we published an episode. We'd be like, oh my God, it's had 50 listeners.
Nice.
Meanwhile, somebody on the internet is like calling us Nazis for using our enormous platform to be dangerous ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
And April 8th is when Bernie officially drops out of the candidacy for.
It was that early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yes, in
early.
March.
Oh my God.
Super Tuesday or whatever was in March. And
Fuck.
Super Tuesday 2 was, I guess, also in March. And then Bernie kind of hung on for a little while.
Like a week.
Yeah, and then he gave up the ghost.
Yeah, the Oregon primaries
Wow.
were so late, I didn't even get the chance to vote for him.
Yeah.
Damn.
Why would you? Welcome to California, bitch. You know.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's
wow, that feels like
crazy.
much later than April. I mean, what did I... Because I feel like we kept talking about politics after that, where I was like, what could we possibly have been talking about? I didn't care anymore.
I remember
Yeah.
we just kept running into like a wall with politics at that point. Where
It just
we
like stuff
got
kept
burned
coming
out.
up where I had to keep talking about fucking Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanted to start a fun little whimsical gay podcast in 2020,
Yeah, good luck.
it would turn into a political podcast. I never thought it'd be like, we were like, okay, yeah, so we're gonna like dunk on Jonathan Van Ness for like 45 minutes of every episode, and then little 15 minutes of like, you know, dunking on Pink News, whatever shit they've written this week, and then, you know, cut forward to April. We're like, look, Stalin did nothing wrong, and if you think otherwise.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep. So yeah, we got definitely a year of tank pilling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
no,
started-
that's a good point. I think everyone had their politics radicalized in one way or another this year.
Definitely true.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was
This
an
is the year I read
anarchist, though.
Capital.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See? Well, I mean, you know, and that sort of, I guess to reflect back on these first 4 months of lockdown and hell, it's sort of weird because it's exactly it straddles perfectly the period of like, sorry, I'm being inarticulate here. So kind of looking back on this period and actually looking back at all of 2020, what sort of I'm reminded of is just how fucking weird life actually was before all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you never really had any context for it. I'm like, oh, this was fucking weird. Like the way the world was and the way we were living was fucking strange.
Very true.
Yeah.
That sounds faux profound, but actually, I mean, like concretely, I was like, San Francisco as a city, for example, has like chafed on me for quite a while. I've been here a long time, and I was like, you know, there's some things I don't much care for about living here. And all 2020 has done is just turn up the volume on every weird irritation. You know, America's a country full of precarious people working precarity jobs. And then they're like, you know what would be really hilarious? What if like we took your weekly income and made it like 9 months worth?
Let's see how far we can go without making everyone kill themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
As it turns out, the examined life is not worth living.
yeah.
It was
Although I
a
will
very
say-
bizarre. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just about to shout out the best thing that happened to me all of this entire year, which is getting on unemployment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly the most blissful 2.5 months of my fucking life. It was like, I thought it was a joke. Like when I first got the first like unemployment check, I was like, I'm like going to go to jail, right? Like, I was like, if I don't say anything, I'm definitely going to prison. Because it was like, I was making, okay, at the time, the job that I had, I was making $13 an hour. With unemployment, I was making $26 an hour.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, girl. And for why? Couldn't tell you. But I will say that. I mean,
When did the Trump bucks come out?
That's what I was just looking. I think that the CARES Act was signed into law on March 27th.
Oh.
that's kind of early.
And I think the checks started landing probably like a week or two later.
I never
Remember there was
got
the whole-
mine.
I didn't get mine either.
sorry,
My,
I couldn't
my
find
dad
you.
claims me as a dependent.
They sent it to me in the mail and it just like never appeared. So don't know what that's about. Thanks.
I got my Trump bucks and I immediately turned around like a good comrade and
Yeah.
spent it on OnlyFans.
yeah.
Mutual aid.
On launching your page, you had to buy a lot of lighting gear.
The funny thing is COVID was when I had the most money in my life because I wasn't paying like $100 to commute to work anymore. And my job got one of those small business loans where they couldn't fire anyone. So they had to keep paying me for 3 extra months, even though I didn't do anything. Like I worked in retail.
work.
And I was like, and then I had a Trump bucks as well. And I was like, wow, I have enough money. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
In any ordinary year, you would get on a plane and go do a decadent barebacking trip across
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah.
Right.
But in
They're
this
like
case,
backpacking.
no, I did not misspeak.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the cruel joke.
Yeah.
Cash injection. Can't use it.
Yeah, that was the
Have
worst
to
part.
spend on boring shit like
Yeah.
rent and food.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ugh.
I didn't have to pay my student loans anymore, so I just stopped. I was like, okay.
Same.
Same.
I'm like, I could like still be paying towards this, but I refuse to. I'm going to buy
Yeah.
a perfume and a Nintendo Switch instead.
Yeah. My dad was like, this is the best time to be paying your student loans. There's no interest. And I was like, okay, ha ha ha. I was like, I hope you forget that you sent me that text. No
New
way.
number, who this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before Bernie dropped out, I was like, well, it doesn't matter anyway because Bernie's going to get elected and blow my student debt away. And then,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, I think everybody was busy starting a small business in an underserved area, having received a Pell Grant in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
At this point, just to make sure that we all knew what was coming, and we're like, you know what, we're gonna make sure we qualify for that
Yeah, exactly.
$5,000 of student debt write-off.
Yeah.
Also, everyone, like,
that Twin
figured
Crab
out-
LLC together.
Everyone figured out they're being like royally underpaid and like fucked over. Cause like I know my mom lost her job and she was like, I'm making more money now than I was when I was actually working. And I'm like, there's something wrong with this picture. Like,
Yeah.
why are you making more money unemployed than you were with a job? Like,
Well, and
Yeah.
people shrieking about like unemployment's too high. It's like, yeah, that's the conclusion. Yeah, that's what's wrong with this picture.
Good
Yeah.
work. Good work, guys.
Yeah.
the
There's
tragedy
also
of
a
all
lot of
this
people
is
realizing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The tragedy is like we have like this veil ripped off from us, but there's nothing productive being done about it. Like we just elected Joe Biden instead.
Right. Literally. Yeah.
Yeah,
did it, team.
it was also like people realized that like all of their like people who were like working in like some shithole office all had to realize that they didn't need to be there at all, and like you could do your job fully normally remote,
Right.
and you could like
seclude yourself.
enjoy being with your family and be at home and like do the exact same amount of work.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, sort of as a one who is incredibly grateful to have a job that continued uninterrupted and unabated throughout all of this, as much as I would have loved, unemployment or whatever. But like, working from home is sort of a mixed blessing because yes, I do love being able to make coffee in my own home and roll out of bed at weird hours and wear sweatpants to work. But it's also like incredibly sort of socially isolating to just be like on a crappy Zoom call for like hours a day, and you're like,
Yeah, of course.
yay,
Yeah. I mean, I feel that
yay, this is work.
Having to stare at yourself like gradually gaining weight every call.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean,
Maybe
like,
that's just me.
I mean, I can feel that too. I'm still working from home, and I got a promotion in March, And right after they told me, they were like,
why didn't we
"Alright."
get that on the timeline?
Right, yeah, CEO bitch. And then right after that, they were like, "We're gonna be working remote for the next couple of days because of COVID." Nope, bitch.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm working at our tiny IKEA kitchen table in our basement unit for fucking months.
Yeah.
The dick sucking
I remember
factory.
at my job, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna be off for 2 weeks, and then we'll see." And it's like, bitch, like, yeah, 2 weeks, like, think over a year, like, you know.
Well, also, sorry. So, as a piece of foreshadowing for maybe the subsequent episodes, it's worth saying that, like, so on March 20th, the Dow Jones index hit like it like dropped the lowest it's dropped in a long time, and ever since then, including through April, all of April, it just kept climbing and climbing and climbing. And so, I think what we've learned is that everything's fine.
It's all
Making
good.
that paper.
Yeah, fuck it.
Well, I think so. I feel like we've successfully reviewed the first 4 months of 2020, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go jump over to Thot Topics.
Okay.
Nick and Chris, do you want to give us a little bit of a spiel about where people find you, and this is your opportunity, convince people to listen to part 2.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you can find Nick's phone number in every bathroom in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you like wet chewing sounds and gay men's voices, I've got the show for you. It's called Thot Topics. It's available wherever podcasts are found. If any of the Twink Rev listeners have a pressing sexual or career or hot take matter that they need answered, we're doing a hotline episode by the time this comes out next week. So email us at thottopicspod@gmail.com, bitch. Woo! And we'll fix your life.
All right, so we'll see you over there on that part. And then Zach, I'm So Popular is going to be the host of part 3, hour 3 of this epic podcasting journey through the year. Tell people about I'm So Popular.
Yeah, it's a cultural commentary podcast hosted by yours truly. I bring random people on every week to talk about whatever it is that I want to. And we're going to be going over the most interesting part of the year on that episode. So go to impopular.me or to Spotify or iTunes or whatever other service they put them on. I think they're all there. So,
well, and as a quick plug there, I would say Zach is the best interviewer I've ever heard, and then also somehow managed to do a solo podcast. I don't know how you would even do that. I would feel naked.
Yeah, now is the time to jump on the ship because we're about to end season 1 and things are about to get out of control. So come do it, whatever it is you do at podcast, please.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. If you want to hear part 2, go to Thot Topics and you can hear part 2 of this wonderful episode.
See you there.
Bye.